This is a video response to Just a Man 400, who commented on my previous video. And I will read his comment. I do have a lot of respect for you and your opinion, even if I disagree. I'm a professing Christian, never been raised in any denomination nor had my opinions swayed towards one way or the other. I trust Jesus Christ for my salvation, and it has never been a blind faith. I accept that some people will never trust Christ. I have never understood the big debate. Some people think we will be worm food, others think that we will be in paradise at the end of this life. That doesn't mean we're not all people with purpose and worth. I hope you leave the door cracked open for a chance that you may find the truth in Jesus Christ. His yoke is easy and his burden is light, and I do not say that with disrespect. I say that with all sincerity and love from one human to another. The truth is waiting on us all, even if we don't know it, even if we do not understand it, even if we do not like it. The truth is waiting on us all underneath it all. I do like your question everything attitude. That was the best advice my dad ever gave me, question everything. With your shoplifter, people create their own problems. Sounds like he found a new problem to create. Kind of strange how people put so much on the line for so little. P.S. My biggest issue is only 12 sighs for 40 minutes. Really? That's like 1.25 sigh for every 10 minutes. Come on. I've seen more sighs in a 5-minute video, official AOD sigh counting fan club. There's a thing? The AOD sigh counting fan club? What? Now, I've had people examine my videos before, like, respond line by line, and then do a little count of every time I say or I've had someone do a count of every time I say dude, or or like, and even have little pop-ups, like the old Mortal Kombat saying, toasted, you know. I sigh as a natural reaction to holding things back when I probably should be yelling. And I make the conscious decision to not yell, but I don't make the conscious decision to sigh. And I don't really mean it as like a conversational sigh at all. It's actually me just naturally reacting to holding things back. So if I don't sigh in this video enough, it's because you didn't piss me off enough, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and if I just sighed just for the sake of sighing, it would be really forced. You'd probably see that it was fake. So, because I'm not a very good actor. Some people think that they are and have tried to pull off stunts in the past, and it just didn't work. And I'm very cognizant of how the in some recent happenings on YouTube, or months ago, recent, some people tried to create a fake drama, and the way that people knew it was fake was because those people were not good actors. That was the first clue. So, thanks for having respect for me. I respect for you for commenting and stating your opinion. I like it when people aren't afraid to state their opinion, even with the possibility of them being wrong, stating their opinion. Communication is good. You're a professing Christian. I am a professing skeptic. I accept the term atheist a lot because in certain contexts where it's appropriate, it really simplifies things. I'm actually a professing atheist. But, some people just want to get down to the brass tacks of, do you believe in a God or not? And they create these dichotomies that create wars and shit. Never been raised in any denomination or had my opinion swayed towards one way or another. I doubt that. Peer pressure exists, especially in the Christian religion. After making the initial decision, there's a lot of reinforcement that you're going to get through fellowship with other Christians. And that is something that sways people very heavily, having fellowship with other people. If there were no atheist community, a lot of some of the atheists on the periphery who just watch all of us people who are very vocal, they would probably go back to churches because life gets boring when you don't have people to hang around with. And you just fake it to make it, go along to get along. And I know a lot of people who still haven't found enough community in the group of atheists that they know, and they still stay with people that they, underneath it all, really despise or really pity or just really facepalm. And they sigh a lot for real in their real lives because they're not with people that they can really genuinely fellowship with because they're at such odds. It'd be like a Democrat caucusing in the Republican caucus. He'd probably have a lot to say about every little thing that came up. You capitalize the word trust because Jesus, the way, the truth, the life, and you capitalize truth, I imagine, because you think that truth is synonymous with Jesus as a title, as a thing. Like the idea becomes the person. Not the same with me, but I get it. I've had that lesson in Sunday school. You say that you trust in Jesus Christ for your salvation, and it's never been a blind faith. Now, if you don't like that term, blind faith, I could say misplaced confidence, if you will. A misplaced confidence would be if you have no evidence for believing a certain way, and yet you continue to because of another reason. And when I said just a minute ago that I am a professing skeptic, to me, it is very core to my being to question everything. And there are things in your life where people will say, well, you live your life based on faith in this, this, and this, but you won't give Jesus a chance. You're a retarded hypocrite. Well, here's the thing. No skeptic is perfect. No person is perfect. And I think that's a point we can all agree on. What happens when a skeptic realizes that he has been living his life with a misplaced confidence, okay, which some people might equate to having faith in something, but faith is a very loaded word. It has many different connotations. So I'm just specifically talking about expecting something to happen when they do something without really understanding the mechanisms behind it. Okay? A misplaced confidence because they don't really know. Maybe just by coincidence, they've had good outcomes by doing a certain thing. Like they go to sleep and they wake up. And every time they go to sleep, they wake up and they're not afraid of going to sleep. Well, one of these days, millions of people will go to sleep and not wake up. Okay? And they just have a confidence because, 99.999% of the time, they wake up. Well, when you get to be about 80, you need to be prepared for the possibility that when you go to sleep, you might not wake up from that sleep. Okay? And a lot of people who get to be 80, they could have been skeptics all their lives, and they live their life as though every time they go to sleep, of course they're going to wake up for breakfast. It's happened for 80 years. So, and you could turn this into an allegory about your car starting every time you turn the key, but something might happen. But you put your confidence in the car starting, and Ray Comfort and horrible apologists who make retarded arguments for the masses, they'll say things like this to really just pull one over on people, pull the wool over their eyes, when really they have to have been presented with the fallacy of their argument by now, and they just realize that their argument is persuasive to the majority of people rather than the thinkers, so they'd rather go with the majority of people, even though they themselves realize that their argument is bullshit. And that's why I call them Dark Lord apologists. This is actually a term that I coined. It is based on the Sith from Star Wars. But this term is for those apologists who know that their argument is invalid, but it is persuasive, so they decide to use it over and over again because they will catch the majority of people with it. They're tricky, okay? And they believe that tricking people into believing in Jesus Christ is somehow worth it. The ends justifies the means. So if they can get a whole bunch of people to trust in Christ with a horrible argument, then that's okay, right? Moving on, you accept that some people will never trust Christ. Okay. I've never understood the big debate. Some people think we'll be worm food, the others think that we'll be in paradise at the end of this life. I want you to recognize that statement is a false dichotomy. As far as the atheists all believing that we'll be worm food, some atheists are going to be created, some atheists are going to have their cremated bodies sent into space, and ejected, with a trajectory towards the sun, or ejected with a trajectory towards something else, and maybe they're shooting for Mars, whatnot. Some atheists will be preserved in their coffins to where worms will not eat them. Some atheists will donate their bodies to science. Okay, and some atheists believe in an afterlife. They believe that there is a spiritual realm. They just don't believe in your God or any one God. They just believe that there is a spirit realm. They're atheists, and they believe this. Now, that is the broad term of atheists. Some of them are pagans who just have a general spiritual belief but don't believe in gods, such as you do. Some of them are naturalists and Native Americans who worship the animal spirits around them, like the wolf and the raven and whatnot. But yeah, to say that it's you either believe in paradise the Christian way or worm food is a really false dichotomy. Even on the paradise side, there's the Islamic paradise, and then there's the Christian heaven, and then there is the peace that the Jews think that they'll have in the afterlife. You know, there are the people who think that they're going to cross over the river Styx. All sorts of people who believe in gods, and they are not part of your dichotomy, because the paradise you're talking about is not the paradise that they believe in. And maybe you're one of those people who thinks that every religion is just a way of figuring out the truth, and every religion is just its own version of the truth, and they all have a bit of truth to them, so they are all talking about the same heaven. Well, there are mutually exclusive properties to these heavens. Okay? So that your dichotomy is false. I'm just telling you this right now. On both sides of it, there are other examples that you'd have to take into consideration. And so I don't think you understand the big debate, as it were. The big debate, as far as what I'm talking to you about right now, is, should you use skepticism for everything, or allow just one exception? Now, the fallacy that you propose that I use here would be a form of special pleading. Special pleading would be, okay, this argument doesn't work in anything else at all, but I want you to use this logic, which doesn't work at all for anything else, on this one thing. I want you to give this one thing an exception to this rule, which we pretty much, every time we test this rule on things that we can test, it turns out that yes, we should question everything. It is a good thing to question everything, to find out why things work, why things are the way that they are, what is the underlying logic behind certain interactions between things. It's good to learn these things, right? Except it's not good to question God. Right? That, from the Christian point of view, if you are a Christian skeptic, which, my friend Nick Johansson, who just left the Richard Dawkins Foundation and moved on to a larger project for the Global Reason Network, he said that you can be a Christian and a skeptic. You're just kind of bad at one of those things. So, if you're a skeptic and a Christian, there is one exception to your skepticism, and that is whether or not you want to question Christ. So when you say, I hope you leave the door cracked open for a chance that you might find the truth in Jesus Christ, what I read from that, what I understand that you are saying is, I hope there is a crack in this absolute rule that you seem to live your life by of question everything. I hope that there is an exception, and that for one moment you will put aside your skepticism and accept something that you have no evidence for. Right? I hope that there is some time that you will make a mistake, and when you make that mistake, you will come to understand things the way that I do, because that mistake will lead you to loving Jesus. That's what I understand of your comment here. You are hoping that there will be a crack, a chink in the armor of skepticism. You know? And this is the crack that you want me to try. That was a real sigh. I just realized that was a real sigh. In the same comment where you're saying that you understand the value of questioning everything, you are asking me to look for the opportunity of this crack in my own skepticism. Now, skepticism sometimes leads people to use tools like empiricism. Sometimes leads people to only believe that which they have evidence to believe. You know, evidence to base their belief on. And what you're asking me to do is leave a little, special don't question this zone when it happens, when you get presented with the truth of Jesus. Capitalized, the truth. Just accept it. And your life will be easier. Right? You say that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. First of all, I would like to just say, as an aside, that Jesus himself never said that following him would be easy. Okay? It does say in the good book that, he's here to tear apart families. It's going to be burdensome. It is. His yoke is going to be when you're truly living your life for Christ. You are supposed to have a lot of strife, and that. There's another real sigh. So maybe my life would be easier if I didn't argue with the majority of people around me about their beliefs. I'll give you that. My life would be easier in certain ways, but my conscience would be tearing me apart from inside. And I've found that I'd rather live my life with my conscience intact and facing all of the hardship of people discriminating against me for not believing the same things that they do. Okay? People not wanting me at parties because I might say, "Oh, that's so funny, that thing that you believe in." Or I might say something that sarcastically points out the folly of them believing in faith in a certain connotation. Or stretching the term faith to mean not just misplaced confidence in something, but also a magical beam that comes down from Jesus in heaven and allows you to read between the lines in the Bible in a way where you see meanings that people who have degrees in English and can read better than you and understand words better than you, they can't understand those meanings because this faith that you have and trust that you placed in Jesus gives you a magic power where you have an understanding that is impossible for somebody who doesn't have that relationship to understand. That's how far the term faith can get stretched. Okay? So I don't use the word faith at all anymore if I can avoid it. I use the word confidence when I mean confidence. I use the word trust when I mean trust. And I like that you are starting to separate the two in your comment here. Last line that I will address is you say, the truth is waiting on us all, even if we don't know it, even if we don't understand it, even if we do not like it. The last part of that, even if we do not like it. I do hear a lot from Christians that the reason why I don't believe in their God is because I want to be a sinner, or I'm not happy with the rules as set out in the Bible, and I want to have things my own way. All right? And I'm just enjoying my life as a non-believer instead of taking responsibility for the rules that are set out in the Bible and acting accordingly as a believer in your gods. So, I just want to tell you that I know, not just on my side of things, but I know a few other atheists and non-believers that they really are pained. And they tried to believe in your God, and they came up empty. They got on their hands and knees and screamed. They were in churches where they had hands laid on them, and they had all the peer pressure helping them in the world, and they wanted something to believe in that would help them connect to all of the people around them, and they still came up empty. They followed every recipe of how to believe, like ask Jesus in your heart, get baptized, just believe. And they can't just believe. The only thing that can get many of these people to believe in God is something like a car accident where they get lobotomized by the impact. Okay? There was a interview with Christopher Hitchens before he died, where he was asked if he would have a deathbed conversion, such as a lot of Dark Lord apologists point out that Darwin probably had, because Darwin's niece reported that on his deathbed that he felt sorry for his contributions to science, and he recanted and asked Jesus into his heart on his deathbed. And so Christopher Hitchens was asked, at the last moment, will he have a change of heart and ask Jesus into his life and all that? And Christopher Hitchens said, not if he's lucid. Now see, he added the caveat there, because as a person who does not have his faculties as a skeptic, if he recognizes that he is having problems applying his skepticism all the time in situations, if he's recognizing that these cracks are getting bigger because his mind is starting to slip away from chemotherapy and cancer eating away at his brain, he recognizes that there's a possibility that one of those cracks will open wide up because he cannot think straight. He does not have his faculties about him, and he might start believing in things without having good reason to do so. Okay? That's why he left that caveat out there. He had made a decision to not believe anything without evidence to base that belief on. But nobody's perfect. People do have cracks in their life, and some people still have the tools of rationality to be able to pave over those cracks when they find them in their life. Some people have the mental faculties to recognize when they are misplacing their confidence in something, and then they work to change that, regardless of whether or not they're going to like the outcome, regardless of how it's going to affect their life in a negative way with friends and family. They will always seek the truth, and they don't need to capitalize the truth in a way that connects it with some magic that they can always put their confidence in without questioning. Instead, the truth for them is lowercase. But that truth is the goal. When the truth is capitalized the way that you did, you're putting Jesus before the actual truth. You're saying that Jesus is synonymous with the truth without questioning whether or not they could be separate things. And I would like to say to you right now that the converse of what you have proposed to me, to leave a crack open in my skepticism to accept Jesus maybe one day. The converse is, will you consider that maybe Jesus and the truth are not one and the same, and that is something okay to question when you are questioning everything? My apologies if I didn't sigh enough to entertain you.